Of the so-called OVW4, he was the only one who didn't have time on his side. He was 33 years old when he was called up to WWE's main roster in 2002, and with age and injury proneness both factors, he had less time to make his mark. But Dave Bautista, for any limitations and lower ceilings that he may have had, made the most of the opportunities he was given, becoming in the process not only one of the most popular heavyweight wrestlers of this millennium, but a very successful crossover star in Hollywood as well. Against all odds, the Animal feasted upon the highest of glories. I'm Jack from Cultaholic.com, and this is the captivating career of Batista. Batista's first brush with professional wrestling came in the late 90s when the former nightclub bouncer and bodybuilder attended a tryout at the WCW power plant in Atlanta, Georgia. But this first taste of the business proved a bitter one, as Batista recalls being exercised into oblivion by head trainer Dwayne Bruce, who wrestled at times under the name Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. Batista remembers vomiting as a result of the rigorous training session under the command of Bruce, who Batista claimed had a Napoleon complex. He also reveals that Parker told him he would never make it in the world of pro wrestling, though Parker contends that he tells all trainees that as a way to test their fortitude. With the power plant in his rear view, Batista attended the Wild Samoan Training Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania, headed up, as the name might suggest, by legendary brawler Afa Anoa'i. After learning the ropes under Afa's watchful eye, Batista made his in-ring debut on Halloween weekend '99 for the school's affiliated program, World Extreme Wrestling. His first ring name was Khan, perhaps because Batista possessed a wrath not unlike that of Ricardo Montalban's. As Khan, Batista's time with WXW was relatively brief, finishing up in 2000, after which he was signed to a developmental deal with WWE. In Ohio Valley Wrestling, booker Jim Cornette cast Batista as Leviathan, the unbeatable superhuman creature that fit perfectly with the Disciples of Sin stable. In this group, Leviathan managed to score a win over Big Show in October 2000 before his undefeated run came to an end at the hands of Kane during the territory's Christmas Chaos show. It wasn't long before Leviathan began getting looks in WWE dark matches in 2001 and defeated the Machine Doug Basham for the OVW title that November. He reigned until February 2002 when he lost the belt to a man he'd crossed paths with many times in the future, the Prototype, aka John Cena. In May of 2002, Batista emerged on WWE programming in a role that accentuated his menacing appearance, but little else. Yes, he was cast as Deacon Batista, the bodyguard of religious charlatan Reverend Devon over on the SmackDown brand. His first TV match on the main roster came the following month, where he and Devon beat the strange duo of Ron Simmons and 22-year-old Randy Orton. In the months ahead, the majority of Batista's televised matches were of the tag team variety, as he owned his craft alongside a tag team veteran in Devon Dudley. But he split from the Reverend by early fall and moved over to the Raw brand. Here things were a little better. Immediately, Batista was portrayed as the absolute threat that he looked like, entering to a foreboding metal soundtrack while dispatching opponents in record time. Early victims of this Batista Unleashed included Justin Credible and D'Lo Brown before he went on to defeat Kane in a matter of minutes. This led to Batista being recruited by an awestruck Ric Flair, and the newcomer went on to defeat Kane a second time, this time at Armageddon 2002, while officially taking the Nature Boy on as his manager. He and a now heel Randy Orton joined up with Ric Flair and Triple H to form Evolution. But any plans for the quartet had to be put on hold at first after Batista tore his triceps at a live event in March 2003. He came back close to 8 months later, rejoining Evolution and making good on Triple H's wishes when he viciously wounded World Heavyweight Champion Goldberg, destroying his ankle with a chair and thus collecting a $100,000 bounty set by the game. He also cost Steve Austin his job as co-general manager, when he powerbombed Shawn Michaels during the dramatic finale of a high-stakes Survivor Series match, allowing Orton to pin the Heartbreak Kid. Though Shawn did pin Batista at Armageddon, the Animal teamed with Flair as a surprise entrant into a tag team turmoil match the very same night. Together, they beat the Dudley Boys to capture Raw's tag team titles. Batista's star continued to shine, and his improvement was easily noticeable. He teamed with Flair and Orton to beat the Rock and Sock Connection in a star-studded handicap match at WrestleMania 20. During this period, Batista and Flair regained the belts they'd lost to Booker T and Rob Van Dam before dropping them to Edge and Chris Benoit. This bevy of tag team matches involving Evolution members around this time led to Batista growing leaps and bounds as a wrestler, as working with the likes of supremely talented wrestlers like Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, and others only sharpened his instincts. The wins also began to stack up as he beat Chris Jericho at Vengeance 2004. It wasn't long before Orton was excommunicated from Evolution by a spiteful Triple H, and this led to the trio version of the group affording more spotlight for Big Dave, who fans began treating as a major deal. Was it the ostentatious pinstriped suits and expensive shades? Was it his no-nonsense approach to beating his opponents into oblivion? Well, one could argue that all of these elements combined into a perfect storm that suddenly pitted Batista as the most intriguing star on Monday Night Raw. And when Batista began standing up to Triple H's demands, the cheers only grew louder. When Batista spitefully decided to win a Beat the Clock challenge prior to New Year's Revolution 2005 instead of bowing to Triple H's best interests, the face turn lay in wait, and the fans couldn't wait themselves. Triple H left Batista for dead in the Elimination Chamber match to fill the world title vacancy, but Big Dave was fixing to remedy that. He won the 2005 Royal Rumble match, drawing with John Cena and then the whole overtime thing and Vince's quads and all that, to earn his pick of a world title match at WrestleMania 21. And after feigning interest in Triple H's attempts to steer him towards WWE champion JBL over on SmackDown, Batista famously double-crossed his Evolution mentors with an explicit thumbs down. Come WrestleMania 21, Batista bloodied the game and powered his way out of a pedigree attempt before dropping Helmsley with a Batista bomb that made him the World Heavyweight Champion at age 35, less than 6 years into his career. While Triple H seemed to go no worse than 50-50 with most foes, Batista was positioned as his conqueror, eking out a win in the rematch at Backlash before annihilating him in a blood-soaked fight to near death at Vengeance inside Hell in a Cell. Later that week, Batista crossed over to SmackDown in the 2005 draft, bringing the World Heavyweight title with him. His first order of business was to turn back the challengers of JBL, whom he fought to a screwy finish at the Great American Bash before finally polishing him off with a Batista bomb onto the halved ring steps at SummerSlam. His next foe came in the form of Eddie Guerrero, who had demonstrated treachery over the previous half a year and was now showing an unlikely friendliness towards the world title holder. The two locked horns at no mercy, with Batista still very wary, understandably, of Guerrero's villainous tendencies. But when Eddie had a chance to use a steel chair, he chose not to. So after Batista won, he was quicker to accept Eddie as a changed man, and the two would team up on occasion, still intertwined storyline-wise, up until Eddie's unexpected passing that November. After paying tribute to his fallen friend, Batista captained the SmackDown Survivor Series team in that show's main event, earning a quick elimination owed to a legitimate back injury. In December, Batista teamed with Rey Mysterio to defeat Eminem for SmackDown's tag team titles. They would drop them back to Eminem 2 weeks later and lost the rubber match inside of a steel cage, both times due to interference from Mark Henry, who was positioning himself as Batista's next World Heavyweight title challenger. But the big match never took place, as Batista tore his triceps while working with Henry at a live event just after the New Year. He was forced to vacate the title after a record 282-day reign, but returned that summer and moved into a feud with the new world champion King Booker for SummerSlam. Batista spent months chasing Booker for the title, unable to wrench the gold due to technicalities, but finally did regain the belt he never lost at the 2006 Survivor Series. After retaining the gold over Mr. Kennedy at the 2007 Royal Rumble, Batista was chosen by Rumble winner Undertaker as his WrestleMania target. The two big men battled in a highly physical clash, one of the most underrated matches for many of Undertaker's streak. Now, of course, because it was the streak, Undertaker won to claim the title and the 15th win in his unbeaten run. The two would square off in a last man standing rematch at Backlash, which ended in a double knockout. But after Undertaker dropped the gold to a briefcase wielding Edge before subsequently disappearing due to injury, Batista remained a continued challenger for the big gold title. He lost a steel cage match to Edge at One Night Stand and blew his last opportunity at the Rated R Superstar via a count-out loss at Vengeance later that June. When the Great Khali won the belt in July, Batista targeted him, failing in a few pay-per-view opportunities before finally winning a triple threat match over both Khali and Rey Mysterio at Unforgiven, capturing the title for a third time. He retained the belt in a Punjabi Prison match. We all love Punjabi Prison matches, beating Khali again, followed by rematches against Undertaker at both Cyber Sunday and Survivor Series. But a now healthy Edge wormed his way back to winning the belt at Armageddon, and after 3 years, Batista was going to have to exist outside of the world title picture. He defeated Umaga in a hastily thrown together Battle of the Brands at WrestleMania 24, before renewing an old rivalry with HBK. Batista fell victim to a fake knee injury trick by Michaels at Backlash, but got revenge in a stretcher match at One Night Stand. A few unsuccessful shots at the World Heavyweight title followed against Edge and CM Punk, but Batista scored a more notable victory at SummerSlam. There, he cleanly defeated John Cena in a battle of established heroes with numerous career parallels. After quickly polishing off JBL at No Mercy, Batista moved into another world title feud with Chris Jericho, defeating him for the belt at Cyber Sunday with a special guest referee in the form of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Jericho, however, won it back 8 nights later in a cage match on Raw, a bout infamous for Batista drawing a $100,000 fine for violating the company's policy against blading. After that feud, he matched up with Randy Orton and his Legacy faction. He captained a team against one led by Orton at Survivor Series 2008, but sadly, his crew fell short. However, the following month, Batista defeated Orton at Armageddon, but again was forced out of action shortly thereafter, this time due to a torn hamstring. The Animal came back right after WrestleMania 25 in 2009, siding with Triple H and the McMahons in their own row with Orton and Legacy. And while he wasn't able to prevent Triple H from losing the WWE title to Orton at Backlash, he himself moved into the picture for a title he'd never previously won. He defeated Orton via DQ at Judgment Day, but actually got his hands on the title at Extreme Rules, defeating Randy inside of a steel cage to capture the WWE Championship for the first time ever. But yet again, injury woes struck Batista, tempering his win with a torn biceps, and again, the Animal was forced to vacate a title he'd won. He made his comeback in September, defeating Orton in a no-holds-barred match on Raw before moving back over to SmackDown, where he and Rey Mysterio unsuccessfully challenged Jericho for the unified tag team titles at Hell in a Cell. When he and Rey respectively came up short in a 4-way match for Undertaker's World Heavyweight title at Bragging Rights, that's when Batista finally snapped, violently accosting Rey during a post-match interview, screaming about friendship as he throttled his tag partner. He then destroyed Mysterio in a short match at Survivor Series 2009, hitting him with 3 Batista bombs in total. He fell short against The Undertaker in a chairs match for the World Heavyweight title at TLC, but his world title hopes weren't dashed. At Elimination Chamber 2010, Batista was employed by Vince McMahon to defeat the new WWE Champion John Cena in a very impromptu match, giving Batista his 6th world title in total. Despite his attempts to play head games with Cena in the run-up to their rematch at WrestleMania 26, he was actually tapped out to the STF and then lost subsequent rematches at Extreme Rules in a last man standing contest and Over the Limit under an I Quit stipulation. And quit Batista did, as his real-life exit from the company was written into his on-screen walkout the night after Over the Limit on Monday Night Raw. Away from WWE, Batista pursued other endeavours, one of which was MMA. Already possessing an extensive background in both Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Batista would only have one professional fight to his credit. He would win that bout via TKO, defeating Vince Lucero in 4 minutes at a CES MMA fight in Providence, Rhode Island. But around the same time, he was also adding to his film resume, appearing in action and fighting movies such as Wrong Side of Town, House of the Rising Sun, The Scorpion King 3, Battle for Redemption, and The Man with the Iron Fists. He also appeared in a supporting role in 2013's Riddick, but his next feature role would come 1 year later, because first of all, it was time to go back to the ring. Yes, in early 2014, Batista made his WWE return after nearly 4 years away, as he entered into that year's Royal Rumble match. And though not the crowd favourite, to say the very least, and that wasn't really his fault, Batista won the match after eliminating a still ascending Roman Reigns. Fans continued to boo the part-time star, due mainly to the fact that he was replacing Daniel Bryan in the world title picture, to the point where WWE just decided to roll with the ongoing sentiment and cast Batista more as a heel. He tapped out to Daniel Bryan's yes lock in the WrestleMania 30 main event, costing both himself and former Evolution ally Randy Orton a chance to stand tall with both unified titles. The following night, Evolution did return, the two reforming with Triple H, but their short-lived reunion crumbled in matches against The Shield, and that led to Batista literally waving goodbye one more time. Just less than 2 months after his second WWE exit, Batista hit the Hollywood jackpot. This came in the form of his role as Drax the Destroyer in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a movie franchise that you might have heard of. His success as Drax led to more prime roles in various MCU sequels and spin-offs, including Infinity War, which did over $2 billion at the box office, and Mr. Hinks in the James Bond movie Spectre. But for all of this success on the silver screen, Dave Bautista believed he had one more wrestling run left in him. In February 2019, a now 50-year-old Batista reappeared on Monday Night Raw, brutalizing Ric Flair on the night of the Nature Boy's 70th 30th birthday party. This was all done to goad Triple H into what Batista really wanted. Wanted it a lot. He really wanted it, which was a match at WrestleMania 35. Triple H wagered his career against his fellow aging brute and former protege, with creative employment of weaponry and a nose ring filling out the match's early going. Ultimately, despite Xavier Woods cheering Batista on manically backstage, he fell victim to a Triple H pedigree, as well as an assist from a vengeful Ric Flair. Judging from the box office for recent film Stuber, it looks like Dave Bautista won't have much reason to break post-WrestleMania retirement anytime soon, certainly not for financial reasons anyway. Nor does he really have anything more to prove in the ring. In just 8 years on WWE's main roster, Batista became a global icon, a heavyweight mauler with a relaxed iciness that every action star should be equipped with. He was tailor-made for pro wrestling, but you can still say that he overachieved, taking the fast track to main event greatness after a late start, but rarely did he miss a step along the way. Few wrestling careers will ever parallel that of Batista's, and likely few entertainment careers will as well. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.